Hey, Miss Cook.
Hey.
Okay, so this week was, I'll be honest, it was a little challenging for me. I felt like there were a lot of standards packed into one lesson.
Right.
So we're going to go over specifically Standard 6, which is assessment, Standard 7, which is planning for instruction, and then finally Standard 8, the instructional strategies.
Right. So for the assessment piece, I felt like you had several formative assessments happening in this lesson, which ultimately led to your summative assessment, the ticket out the door. And I mentioned it in your evaluation that the working on the Fat Family Kite, you sitting with them and seeing how they're doing with that, and picking up on who needs a little bit more assistance, that kind of thing. And then the Fat Family Tile House, doing that as well, doing those beforehand. That lets you know when you give them that ticket out the door who can handle what numbers, who can answer. Differentiating it
right,
towards
and that's
them.
specifically what I did for the exit tickets. I wrote, I guess, certain numbers, like harder numbers, like 6, 8, and 14, for a student that I felt like could manipulate those numbers a little better, and then others that still were trying to grasp the concept of the lower digits. So it seemed to help.
Right. So that was a great example of taking your formative assessments that you were doing, observing, watching your kids, and while you're talking through the lesson with them and the activities with them, and then using that information, that data, for your summative assessment. And then, of course, after your lesson, then we've discussed through the rest of the week who's really still struggling, who needs a little bit more help, and we've worked with them separate. So that's really what we use assessment for. The formatives, we use them to instruct our teaching, which goes into planning for instruction. When you plan a lesson, you have in mind how it's going to go, and then sometimes it goes that way, and sometimes it does not go that way. But that's what the data helps us to see. The formative assessments you're doing helps you to see, how is this lesson going? Okay, what do I need to back up for? Or who do I need to back up for? Or they've really got it. Yeah. Let's not waste more time. Let's just keep moving.
Right.
So that's kind of, they really go hand in hand. You plan it, you do the lesson, you assess as you're going along formatively, and then you change your plans,
change what you need
do it, keep going, and then at the end you give them that summative assessment.
So planning for instruction, did you feel like I had appropriate knowledge of the lesson overall and how to, I guess, execute it?
Yes.
With the class?
So the lesson was all about fact families and how the addition sentences and the subtraction sentences are really opposites of each other, and how they work together to help us figure out, almost like the missing add-ins we did the week before, helping us to find that missing number. So applying that to real life examples like you did in the beginning of the party invitations or the pizza, that's really going to help them to make that connection of, why am I learning this?
Right.
So that was really good.
I think one student even said, because we have to.
Yeah.
So explaining, and I guess taking that a step further and trying to let them know, this is why we use it to real life. Okay, and then finally, this one, I did feel like I kind of struggled a little bit, and I don't know if it's the nature of the type of students that I work with, but Standard 8 for instructional strategies.
Right, and I feel like that's exactly what it is. Our class makeup during that time is my full class, which is 18 students, plus the EIP math students that are not in our class, but that are in our other 3 first grade classes, and they come in during that time so that you're serving them as an EIP teacher as well. And so we have 26 students during that whole group introduction time, and then when you pull to a small group, you just have those students who are being served by EIP. And so I really felt like your strategies that you were using really did, looking at your they did help to apply that knowledge in meaningful ways, especially in the whole group setting. One thing that I did comment on is, especially when you go into that small group setting, continuing to ask those higher order thinking questions, which we've talked about, that when the students are being serviced by EIP, they typically are not always going to be able to answer those questions, but we still need to give them the opportunity to. And it's really hard as a teacher to let them give you the wrong answer.
Yes.
And it's really hard as a teacher to just wait and give them that wait time. But I think it's really important to let them try. Yeah, because they may surprise you.
That's right.
So anyway, so that was just one thing I feel like, we can keep working on together. So
okay. So going forward, we have one more video that we have to record, and it's the end, like a wrap up, and we'll be incorporating all of the standards and just kind of seeing how I've progressed along. And yeah, I feel like it's gone by really fast.
Yes, it has gone really fast.
So, but thank you so much for your input, and I definitely feel like Standard 8 is something that I need to kind of tweak and work on, and I think it'll come slowly and gradually, like as the years throughout teaching. So, thank you so much.
You're welcome.